So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Ajay Khanna. He is the CEO and founder at Tellius, where he focuses on helping companies bring together all of their data in one place, enabling asking questions with a search interface, surfaces hidden insights and trends. Ajay is a tech innovator with a huge passion to build new technologies and disruptive business models. All right, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Ajay up on stage. Hello, thank you so much for being here.
All right. No, thanks, Kate, for having me. You guys can hear me. Yep.
Yes, I can hear you.
Right.
I can see you.
Great. Hello, everyone. My name is Ajay Khanna. I'm CEO and founder at Tellius. Excited to be part of this show. Kate has put together an amazing show, great energy, some really awesome lineup of speakers. I heard some of them this morning from Kirk, Cassie, Christina, some amazing talks here. So let me start with who is Tellius? What do we believe in? So all right. So what do we believe in? Yes. So Tellius. So we are on a mission to make everyone in the organization a data analyst. So we built a decision intelligence platform focused on enabling business and the data analyst teams make faster, smarter decisions from your business data. So organizations are collecting massive amount of data, and they want to use this data to make data-driven decisions. But when we talk about the journey from data to decisions, that involves not only understanding what is happening in your business, but why things are changing and what you can do to improve those outcomes. So let's take an example. Let's say if you're head of marketing, you want to understand what you can do to improve your campaign conversion metrics. You have to first know what's happening with your campaign conversions, how are they doing. But once you figure out, let's say if one of the campaign conversion isn't doing good, why is it not doing good? Is it because of a channel not performing well? Is it a messaging or something else? And once you figure that out, then you can actually make some tweaks to your campaign to be able to improve the campaign conversion metrics or so. So let's talk about how this process works today and why it leads to what we call as the reporting hell in the organizations. So there are four more main reasons for that. So let me start with the first one. And the first one being the current reporting process is very manual and time consuming. So it's interesting that while the data has grown exponentially in the last 2 decades, however, the way we access information and we analyze data hasn't really changed in the last 2 decades. It used to be dashboards on desktops, then became dashboards on a client server scenario, and then became dashboards on cloud. But guess what? The way we access information is still dashboards. So that has to change. That's not how we do anything else in a day-to-day life. Let's say if you want to book a flight or buy a pair of shoes, you typically end up actually using some kind of app. So you have some kind of search bar, you type a question and be able to make a flight booking or buy a pair of shoes in a matter of a minute. So something has to change in a data analytics process. So the second process of the issue we see is the process we use to when we have some kind of why question. So when you want to dig deeper and let's say understand why campaign conversions are changing, there isn't any easy way to do that. So with complexity of data increasing, there could be hundreds of columns and there could be billions of records. So you can't possibly run those billions of combinations manually. With the current approach, it's just not possible. So this system is not scalable. This process isn't scalable when you have to understand why things are changing, why your campaign conversions change, why my market share changed. And then there's a lot of talk about machine learning, AI in the organizations. But the question becomes is, okay, if there are hundreds of open source tools out there, why are organizations not using it? Why are business teams not using it? Well, the unfortunate reality is that these machine learning AI techniques, most of these tools are built for the advanced users, and the business teams don't fully understand that. They're really hard to understand and consume for the business teams. And then what we see is that with the BI stack, mostly business intelligence tools, which we use here, they're built 10 to 12 years ago. They use some old architecture, which means that you can't possibly take billions of records or terabytes of data and be able to run the analysis on top of that. So typically you have to aggregate that data to some million rows, tens of million, maybe 100 million rows or so. But let's say you answer a question, then the business individual comes in and say, you have another question. Now, what does that mean? You have to go and do another aggregation, and that process just continues and that cycle continues. And that's kind of what's the combination of this is what's leading to what we call as the reporting hell. So how do we fix it? When we look at, and I'm going to take you back in the memory lane. So some of you, if you remember doing a flight booking in early 90s, you probably remember that. And some of you who aren't old enough and haven't gone through the flight booking experience in early 90s, you just have to trust me. People did make flight bookings before Expedia or Travelocity were born. They did do that. So I remember this process, driving down to a travel agent place, and then travel agent will make a call to someone, and they will punch in some codes, codes in regards to the so I think I got distracted here. So they will punch in some codes in regards to the airport codes, and then figure out, okay, this is the options you have, and be able to get that going. So the way this whole experience worked at that point of time was that it took days. It took me about a week to be able to get that flight booking done. Now, of course, things have changed in the last 2 decades. Now you can go actually, get your phone, use some kind of consumer app, and be able to make a flight booking in a matter of minutes. And so this is kind of great that you can make a flight booking or buy a pair of shoes in a matter of minutes. But it's very ironic that if you have to find information from your data, it still takes weeks and months sometimes to be able to do that analysis. So what do we do? So how do we fix that? So we took a step back and said, okay, we need to build something from ground up where we can actually do this analysis. We collapse this analysis process and provide a modern user experience for the business teams to be able to ask those questions very easily. So we are bridging what we call as the last mile problem, and the last mile problem of getting insights in the hands of business teams. So you have a question in mind, you don't have to wait for the analyst. You can ask this question in a Google-like interface, and the system will scan through billions of records across all the data and find that answer, create a chart on the fly, and give that back to you. The system also provides you suggestions and recommendations as you type, because you may not remember all the column names in the system. Then once you find what happened, you have a question on why things change. So now to be able to say why things change, the system can also go through, run millions of combinations, and be able to find that root cause analysis on why things are changing, and be able to provide that information to you rather than you manually looking through it. And then you can also go and be able to, let's say you want to target some customers to improve, in this particular example, let's say market share, you can actually create segments. You don't have to wait for the data scientist to be able to create these segments. You can do that in a more self-service manner or so. So this flow I just talked about, from what, why, how, is only one of the questions. But guess what? The data is coming in every second, every minute, every hour. Lots and lots of data is coming. And then you have to do that analysis. And collapsing this analysis process is the key to put this information in hands of the business teams. So I know Kate advised me, is like, are you sure you want to just show a glimpse of the tool? But I believe in seeing is believing. So I wanted to show this tool and be able to say, how does this work in reality? So when we go into Tellius, you can see a Google-like search interface, like you will see in any kind of consumer application. It provides you some suggestions and recommendations on, as you type. So you can ask questions. Let's say you come in and you ask a simple question like, okay, I want to just know how things are doing, by revenue is doing by state, and the system will actually understand it's a chart which is more of a mapped view, and be able to create that on the fly. Of course, you can modify this chart to what you want. You can actually look at revenue by channel. You can say, you don't have to even type this thing exactly. So let's say if you didn't type it properly, the system will still find the closest match, and you can actually compare different channels. Let's say if you want to compare these channels in South, for 2019. So you can actually, this can apply these filters on the fly. You can actually say you want to do a different kind of resolution. So system can actually do a trend chart automatically, because we are trying to break it down by a quarterly resolution. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of asking questions. You can mistype columns, you can compare things, you can apply filters. There's a lot of things you could do. And of course, we continue to evolve this experience to accommodate different kind of questions there. Now, and this answer which came in, it wasn't across one table. So this information actually expands across multiple tables. Now, in this particular example, it's a customer information, orders information, page views, products, sessions, and few other information there. So that's one part we can see. But the fun starts when you see something change. Then it's like, okay, I want to know why things change. And that's where you spend a lot of time, manually drilling down. But in case of Tellius, you can actually go and be able to click this button and say, why don't you figure out what happened, which maybe make this actually particular revenue go up by 233% in this particular quarter. So I have some examples here. So the system actually creates a narrative, natural language narrative on the fly. So you can actually go and look through this information on why things changed and create a narrative with some information and sorted by the impact. So impact meaning out of all the variables, all the information, which variables have the biggest contributor, biggest impact to this particular question you are asking. So these are not random anomalies. These are more sorted by the impact of the target variable you're looking at. And you can actually do, your exploration does not have to stop here. You can keep asking questions. Not only look at why things change, but also maybe you want to compare social versus paid search. Like, why social went down and paid search did not go down. You can actually go and maybe compare those. Like, what is the reason between the performance of these two? So some example of these would be like someone trying to figure out maybe two offers, why they are different. And the system figures out maybe certain age group isn't doing well or certain region isn't doing well. And then be able to even create some of these models. You can actually create segments of customers you want to target, and then be able to continue that investigative process. And we also even create some of these machine learning models on the fly. And eventually, you want to go ahead and view this information in some kind of WizPad. We call it a WizPad, which is like a dashboard. So you can still put that in a view, which you can consume and say, what are my customers at risk, or other information there. So that's is kind of a very quick overview of the flow of how we see this evolving. But I think in summary, what we see is that we want to enable organizations with a smarter way to answer these why and how questions, and basically democratize the access of data to everyone in the organization there. So that's it on my side. I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, I stopped the sharing. Ajay, thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. People are commenting that they absolutely love the demos. They really, I guess they were hoping for a demo today. You guys got your demo. So a lot of great features. Thank you so much for showing us that. Several questions came in about where people can learn more and what are they looking at, right? So this is Tellius. Where can people go to either get a trial or kind of play with this?
Yeah, so they can go to tellius.com. I think I forgot to show my email address and Twitter handle, but I'm sure you can find it on tellius.com. There's also a free trial option on Tellius. So if you go there, there's a free trial button right on the top there. You can click on that and start a free trial to just check it out and see if it really fits what you're trying to achieve there.
Absolutely. Thank you. We have, we'll get through a couple of questions. So Supriya is asking, is it like a Google search on data? Because that's what it looks like. You typed in some questions. You got some cool charts and answers. You got the whys, and you put it all in a WizPad. It looks really cool.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We want to call it like a Google search for your business data. So you can actually start with asking questions across all your data. I think that's the beauty here, that you don't have to think of aggregating the data before. You just have to say that, okay, these are all the tables there. You certainly have to define the schema, that how they are joined. But once you do that, then the business teams, the analyst teams can just start asking questions pretty much like Google. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Question here. It says from LinkedIn user, so we don't have the name, but what's your favorite feature of Tellius? I'm sure that's difficult to answer, but let's hear it.
Yeah, it's hard to pick my favorite feature, but actually, I would go with the feature which we call as the Auto Insights feature. So the Auto Insights is my favorite feature. Is that yes, you can start asking questions, but I think I give this analogy that, let's say you're trying to book a flight, and somehow I keep coming back to the flight booking arrangement or the analogy. But let's say you're trying to book a flight. Let's say if there was an interface which tells you all the flights, it told you how many flights leave from DC, how many flights land in LA, but didn't tell you, which flight actually gets you there faster, cheaper, right? That would be useless information. So my take is that you can do all the exploration which you need, but then the insights actually tell you the actionable changes you need to make to improve your business outcomes. I think this whole talk is about improving outcomes, and that's what we feel that feature enables you to do.
Awesome. Well, Ajay, thank you so much. I think at this time, I'm going to hop you off the virtual stage, and thank you guys. Go ahead and check out tellius.com, get your free trial.